first project here. So here, let me get to the right page. Okay, there's my mouse. All right. So here, the first project, if you go down to the schedule, okay, the first project is this Mod 3 to 4 project due next week. And that's what the first project is where you install Splunk and put some data in it. And for this one, you'll find the instructions right here. Now, these other instructions just tell you what to turn in after you use the official Splunk documentation. But this one had changed a little bit since the version of Splunk for their project, so I rewrote it. So what you're going to do here is install Splunk. And this was a question people already asked. You can make a Splunk account. You can log into Splunk.com, make an account, and download Splunk straight from them. But I downloaded it yesterday and put it on my server just for your convenience. So you can get the Windows, Mac, or Linux version here. There are other versions. For example, this is the Debian Linux version, and they have like a Red Hat version and a generic Linux version if you want that on the official Splunk website. What I did was I took the Windows version and put it on my Windows virtual machine, and I was very pleased, by the way, to observe Splunk has operating system requirements, and they only support Windows on Intel processors. But my virtual machine is running on an ARM processor because this is a Mac M1, and it worked. It popped up a bunch of boxes saying installation failed, but if you just close them and ignore it, it works, which is about what I would expect. So it is in fact working okay on my ARM server. Anyway, you just install it the way you always install software. You just double click it and say next, next, next. It will ask you to choose a username and password. This is the username and password that you will use to log into Splunk. So I recommend just using a generic admin and a password just like this, just something you won't forget. And it says just for you to log into your own Splunk instance. Then you go through a normal installation procedure, and then it will open your web browser and ask you to log in. And the web browser will be going to a local address, 127.0.0.1. That's how many products work. See, where's info to download? On Canvas or homepage for course? You'll find this on samsclass.info. Then you click CNET 50, and that will take you to here. And here. And then you just scroll down, and the projects are down here. Here's the project, and the link to download Splunk is right in there. If you want to get the copy from my server, which is the easiest thing to do. Good. See if there are any other questions. All right. And, strange sound. I guess I'll find out if anything weird happens. All right. All right. So then, after you start Splunk, you'll be at the main Splunk page that looks like this. Here's the search and reporting tool. There's a few other tools here we're not going to use. And here's the add data tool. These are the only things we're going to use. Now, Splunk is now running, but the only data in there will be a little bit of data, which is just data showing the Splunk server running. It puts in a little data about its own server running, but that's not interesting. So we're going to add data that came from Splunk. So first they want you to create a user with the power role, so you can go over to settings and create a user with the username and this funny password. That's what Splunk wants you to do. We'll use that later. But then here you can just create a user the same kind of way you would in a Windows domain or anything else, username, password, and then you can choose that user's role down here, and you can make it a power user, which is what they want, which is not an administrator, so they don't have full rights, but they can do a lot of things. This is something you would do at a real company, to have users that are running Splunk that don't have enough power to mess it up, just like you do for every other device you have, like firewalls and web servers and everything else. Then there's a data file that came from Splunk, which again you can download from my server. And when you unzip it, there are 30 days of data of 3 different types here. And you import that data into Splunk. The first part is a web server. So it's a web application server. That sound is a Windows 11 booting up. Thank you. You're quite correct. All right, so now you ingest it. You click Add Data, Upload. And then you upload data. And you select the source. Just select that source you've unzipped, the log file. And Splunk will automatically detect what that is, saying this is access combined with cookie. It recognizes it as a standard web server access log. So you don't need to configure anything else. Splunk recognizes the data, and you just click Next, give it a name of web application here, and then review and submit. That's the first bit of data up there. Now the next bit of data is web server data, not web application logs, but some other web server data. And this time, it doesn't automatically recognize what the data is, so it just says default here. So it's not data in a common format that Splunk recognizes. And so you have to tell it it's Linux. So you go down here and set the source type to Linux secure. And then just next, give it a name of web server, and on you go. And then there's database server data. This is a PostgreSQL log data, audit data for 30 days. And so you import that the same way. So anyway, after you've done all that, you have data, and you can then see a data summary, and that's it for the projects that are due next week, the start of it. And I've got that all running here, so let me show you. Here's my Windows 11. Let's see if I can, well, maybe I can just log in. Let's see. Nope, I gotta, oh, good. Okay. Ah, good, looks like I'm getting in. Now it's a little goofy that it's sticking off the top of the screen, but anyway. I can probably use it this way. I'll have to, all right, anyway. So I can get to Splunk Web. Since I've already installed Splunk, I think I can probably get there from the Programs menu. Let's see. There are no, so I see questions here. There are no data forwarders in this class. Yes, I'm using a VM here. All right, people say they need, all right, I mean, that's a few questions here. The username and password is this. There, that's the username and password you need. How are data forwarders authenticated? What's to stop a hacker from forwarding falsified data sources? That's a very good question, and I don't know the answer. I haven't configured forwarders myself. We never got that far for this certification. So it's a good question, and I don't know how well it's encrypted or authenticated. One would hope it is, but I don't know if that's true. That's an interesting idea. Anyway, let me see if I can figure out how to get the Splunk main page open here. I think it should be in all programs menu if I can find it. The problem is I can't see what I'm doing very well. All right, let me drag that thing over to the screen here if I can figure out how to do that. I've got a problem here. I might have to just unplug the projector for a while to get that onto this screen. I think that's what I'm going to do. Okay. Let's get back to one screen so I can get control of my machine here. And now it's here. There we are. Okay. Now I want to find the Programs menu, wherever it is. Microsoft has hidden it, of course, because this is Windows 11. All right. This will do. Now I'm going to try and project again, and let's see if the Twitch picks it up. Okay, so when I put this back and drag this down and over. Okay. There we go. All right, so here comes my Windows 11 machine. Coming over to that screen, or so I thought. Okay, it's over this way. There, okay, good. So finally, there's my Windows 11 screen. This is better. All right. So they put the All Programs menu over here because Microsoft always moves everything around to make sure nobody can find anything. And the end, there's a Splunk Enterprise item in the All Programs menu. And that should launch the web console. And it does. All right, now my life is good. That's neat. Well, after you've installed it, that's how you can get into Splunk Web. And so I have my username and password. I saved it in the browser. It's just admin and PAD/SSW0RD. And so you can log in, and then you get to Splunk. Now I could add more data, but I've already added the data here. Once you've added the data, you go to search data. Now let me just check and make sure that the Twitch stream is still picking it up. It looks like it is. Okay, good. Yes, you can put Splunk on your host machine, and that would be fine. You can also put it on a virtual machine. Either way is fine. Splunk is, of course, not malware or dangerous. If you don't like it, you can uninstall it later. So there's either way is fine. And it doesn't even consume a lot of resources. So you don't really need a powerful machine to run it on. All right, so I want to get the, looks like I'm getting some weird problem with the refresh rate there. Let me see if I can fix that in my settings. Preferences, displays, arrangements, okay. Default for display, that should be right. Probably going to be fine. Usually only does that a few times when it gets done freaking out. All right, so here's the Splunk web page. And I could search for data here, but the other thing I can do just to get started is I can get a data summary, which is, I think, this one, although I can't see too well from here. Yeah, it is. All right. This is where you can get a summary of what kinds of data are in here. And you see, you should have imported these 3 kinds of data, and you'll see them there. So you see database, web application, and web server, and the count of how many records there are on each one, and you should get exactly those numbers because you're importing a standard archive data set. And the future official Splunk training projects will involve querying this data to find out how many people have been selling different games and things like that. All right, so that's all you have to get done by next week, is to get your Splunk server running. You should put it on some machine. You can put it on a cloud server, your local machine, a virtual machine, whatever. If you were to do it in this room, I don't suppose it would work. I think these machines probably have deep freeze, and they'll probably forget everything you do. But anyway, all right. Are there any questions about that? Let's see if any more coming in here. Well, then let me show you the fun stuff. Because this official Splunk training is fine, but I found it kind of boring because it's not about security. So let me stop this recording and move to the one that's more fun.